right, thanks everybody for coming. We're going to give just a minute or so, let people filter in, and then we're going to get started. Thank you for coming again. All right, once again, thanks everybody for coming out. We're going to just wait maybe 30 seconds, a minute, and then we will jump right into it. So thanks for coming. Hang tight. Let's let some folks get in here. Cool. We'll go ahead and get started. And for anybody that comes in late, or if you have to jump off, we are going to record this, so we'll send that out to you afterwards. But like I said, thank you for coming. My name is Parker Bird. I'm the marketing manager here at Hook Security. Today, we are just going to talk about 5 growth opportunities for MSPs. So first, I'm just going to talk about our 2 speakers, Brad Powell. Brad Powell is our director of channel recruitment here at Hook Security. He's a serial sales professional, entrepreneur, and business owner. He founded a digital tech company in the golf industry, assisted multiple startups, launches, and growth. Prior to co-founding Hook Security, he spent time on the front line helping commercial businesses physically secure their buildings and properties. And now, using his experience as a business owner and successful sales career, he's bringing his unique growth mindset to each business, culture, and the people that he works with. Brad understands the life of running a company and strives to be a true and trusted partner to all of his reseller partners. He obtained his business administration degree from the Citadel Military College of South Carolina, and later obtained an MBA in entrepreneurship from Clemson. He also studied international business at Victoria University in Wellington, New Zealand. Brad's on a mission to help every MSP and MSSP grow their business with psychological security training. So welcome, Brad. Thanks for coming. On the other side here, we've got Jason Rorie. Jason is a U.S. Navy veteran, author, and cybersecurity expert. Jason holds undergraduate degrees in computer network engineering and management of technology, along with a master's degree in information assurance and cybersecurity. He's a certified information security program professional, an InfoSec program auditor. And in 2019, Jason authored the book Small Business, A Hacker's Playground. Jason is the founder of Elevated Technologies, Triad InfoSec, and Cybersecurity Insurance Group. His mission is to use his 20 years in the IT security industry to help protect local businesses from today's cyber risks. So that all being said, you've met your speakers. We're just going to get right into this. I think we've got a lot of good stuff to share with everyone here today. So without further ado, welcome guys. Thanks for being with us. So we're just going to go right into opportunity 1, and I think Brad's gonna run away with this one at first. Brad, what do you got for us?
Hey guys, thank y'all so much for joining us here today, and it's a lot of fun to be able to jump on this with Jason Rorie, who's a great friend and a great business partner here at Hook Security. The first opportunity that we want to talk about is how to develop a culture selling mindset and how to make everyone sell in the organization. What I want to kind of preference with that, guys, is, I'm kind of talking about outcomes over output here. When we're talking about the culture of a company, it's about everyone. We know that. Everyone knows that. But we also know that it's everyone's duty to help our business grow, not just the sales team. So I'm going to kind of walk through a couple bullet points of just some things that we do here at Hook and just some things that we've done in the past that I think will be very beneficial in trying to help the whole organization get into that sell mindset, that culture selling mindset. So number one is to build a confident belief in the difference your employees can make. So, as a business owner, one of my things, I've always kind of been on the outbound side of the business, probably similar to a lot of the guests we have on the webinar today. Very probably similar to Jason's background as well. But, one thing that I believe is the most important is achieving an all-in buy-in from the entire organization into knowing that they too can make a difference in the sales process and ultimately will be needed along the way. So I think it's very important to make it clear what everyone's role plays into the sales process and actually provide ownership and achievement opportunities for the team. At the end of the day, we want everyone to clearly know that they can help the sales process and they can clearly help us go win these sales. So that's number one, build a confident belief in the difference your employees can make. Number two is define the role people play in the sales process. All right, guys. So, not everyone likes the sales process. I mean, let's just face it. Many people have a bad stigma of salespeople. Plus, not everyone is really born to do it in some ways. You can teach yourself how to do this, but yet there are so many equal important roles to play in a successful sales process. So I think it's imperative that your people can identify your client's needs so that if you have an unhappy or a frustrated client, that person, if it, in sales or not in sales, can make that a happy customer. If you have people that are running your quote unquote machine, your business, if they understand your customer's journey, no matter what their job function is, I think it provides tremendous clarity and confidence in any situation. So for an example, I think it's important to engage with your team and even individuals on your team to identify where they can support engagement, satisfaction, or even a commitment to buy. So an example of this, guys, would be like the tech team versus the sales team. So the sales team goes and knocks down an awesome account. After the job is sold, the tech team and sales team, they come together, they discuss a new customer that was won. They talk about the deal, the contract. They talk about, this is how you need to communicate with this customer. And they're all in, they're all together on this, so that when the job is sold, that is the satisfaction there. But then when they actually go install it or do the tech side of it, that also is a success. So on the flip side, if me as a sales guy, I go sell a job, give the customer that butterfly feeling, and then the technician goes out and we're not on the same page, all that hard work that me as a sales rep put in, it just deters all that. And then the job for the technician is going to be even more difficult. So, I mean, honestly, it's just not a winning program for your business, operations, or sales. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that each member of your team need to be a part of the sales process discussion. The third bullet point I want to make on this is train for customer problems, not on features. So, we're a SaaS company here at Hook Security. So we're always coming out with new features and new training and new widgets, plugins, whatever it may be. But you can't let the team get bogged down with problems on feature sets or the next new shiny thing getting rolled out. I mean, we all love hearing about those things, and that means you're growing and that you're getting better. But to actually build an all-in culture, it's imperative to spend time talking with the team about issues clients might be actually suffering, so that, again, when they're facing that client, they can be in a winning situation to solve those problems for the company. The fourth thing I want to say about this is celebrate all wins in the sales process. One thing that we say here a lot at Hook Security is the fun is in the winning. So to be honest, when sales professionals typically get the credit for the deal, right? They got the contract signed, but as we all know, each new opportunity brings its own challenges. And one of those challenges can be time, right? So you could have a really short sales call where you literally on the call, one call close. And some are more longer and more complicated. So it's just, we need to make sure that we're involving all people at all levels in all departments. This is kind of a belief of mine as I've grown here over the years, but my belief is that leadership teams need to think less about maybe perks and benefits for their sales teams and more about recognition and rewards for those contributing to the success of the sales process. So let me give you a couple examples of what I mean by that. One thing we do here at Hook, we have a morning huddle where we talk about our wins from the previous day. That really allows the entire organization to see what's going on and who's winning and where we're winning. We also, yesterday was Wednesday. We actually spell Wednesday at Hook, Winsday, Wednesday. And that's just a mental thing. We keep a couple Slack channels live for new partners, new orders. We give emojis and gifts. If we have a teammate that's just killing it and an inbound lead from Parker comes in, we might go give him, a gift card or give him his favorite 6-pack of beer. Our creative team has created videos that have literally brought inbound leads into our organization. So we reward the creative team with a DoorDash gift card or a Visa gift card. Now, I say all this, it doesn't all have to be monetary rewards, but the point is to engage non-sales teams about being all in on the sales process. The last thing I want to say about this is, and I use this word a lot, but all in for business to grow. Here at Hook, we're not only a channel-only business model that are SciSec training experts, but we're also an outbound company at our core too. And which, by the way, benefits our partners greatly. But in order to get the best from each and every person that we work with and to get them all in and buy in on what we're doing with our sales process, we also have to understand how our people can best contribute to that once they start going. So we want to make sure that if the sales guys is out there bulldogging and getting orders and doing all these things, that the processes and that everything that needs to be executed can be done so effectively. If you have an all-in group, the sky's the limit. So those are a couple things that I want to say on kind of how to make everyone kind of think about sales, everyone kind of develop that culture selling mindset on that opportunity one.
That's good stuff. I guess if I could synthesize all that down, would you say that, the kind of the overview is give your marketing team beer? That's kind of,
yeah, exactly.
You kind of bring that home with that, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Jason, you have anything to add on that?
Well, yeah. Just to touch on his points, and running an MSP for the past 14 years, I could completely agree with what Brad's saying. I mean, it's getting everyone involved that are in non-sales roles involved in the process. And again, we all know that, technicians are not salespeople, but you have to understand and realize that the technical people within your team ultimately own the relationship past the sale. They're the ones interfacing with the client. So they're the ones that really, kind of need to keep their ears and eyes open for some opportunity. Now, I'm not saying they have to be the salesperson to upsell or cross sell, but be able to bring some of that information, back to the office and maybe relay it to the point to where a salesperson, or relationship manager, account manager, whatever you call them in your business, could reach out and talk to them about it. Maybe there's an opportunity if the tech is working with a client and they're complaining about their phone system. So maybe you do, resell VoIP. So there may be, an opportunity there. So it's just, having the techs in the mindset of taking care of the client technically and in a support role, but also keeping your eyes and ears open for some opportunity for growth. And if that does happen and materializes into additional growth or additional sales for your MSP, then as Brad said, reward them, bring them in the loop, make sure you take the time to celebrate them and celebrate that win and reward them, bring, initiatives, maybe could even develop a little friendly competition out of it and give them some sort of little stipend or commission. We do that and it's been, very successful. And because a lot of times the tech team could, in some regards, almost feel kind of left out of the overall company vision. I've worked with a lot of MSPs where, their tech team couldn't tell you what the company goals are for growth. They couldn't tell you the vision statement, the mission statement, some of those very important things. And you've got to get these guys on board and everybody be on board. And, maybe going through something like an EOS implementation to get the assistance to, bring everybody together and make sure everybody understands and they're all working toward a common goal, and they realize that the work they're doing is meaningful and they're a part of something bigger than just answering support tickets. And it goes a long way for morale, for the culture, and ultimately the growth of your business.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think when you're trying to figure out what problems you can solve on the sales front, and even trying to create content on the marketing front, a lot of times you can actually pull that content from your support team and your tech team because they've got their ear to the ground. They're talking to those customers. So that's a really good point. Let's move on here to opportunity number 2. And by the way, if you guys have any questions throughout this, there is the Q&A box down in the Zoom webinar tools. So any questions as we go along, drop them in there and we'll answer them as we go. And then a few more at the end. But see, opportunity 2, be curious, George. Brad, what do we mean by be curious, George?
Yeah. So, when we were talking, Jason and I are both, well, actually all 3 of us here are dads. And I think it was the dad in me that came up with this Curious George, and the dad in all of us. But it's really something simple, right? I think top reps are curious. And what I kind of have a couple points I want to make about that. So my opportunity or is some advice is be curious, George. One thing that I want to say is curiosity helps you win in those initial calls. When you're setting up to grow your business and talk with new customers, new end users, new businesses, you must be inquisitive. You must be inquisitive, and you must be inquisitive up front. But one thing I do want to caution anyone is don't run with the first problem you hear. You got to keep listening. You got to keep figuring out what's going on. So keep being curious, even if you hear your first problem with what the customer might be having. Even if you can solve it, keep listening. Always be looking to be curious about who makes decisions. Who are they? What is the process? How long does it typically take? Who all is involved? What do we need to do here? What's the next step? And another thing that I want to say is open-ended questions. Anyone in sales, that should make you salivate. It should make you be like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to answer this question and take this down. Moving along, another one is gain and establish rapport. I think when you're curious, it really allows you to make an instant connection, like as soon as possible in the process. So we're not just curious about what the prospects do. I mean, at least this is kind of coming from my side. I am genuinely curious about who they are. And I think Jason can attest to that when I reached out to him and we started working together. But, these are people. These are not contracts. These are not money signs. These are people that we need to work with, and we need to understand, what makes them tick. So I get curious about topics that might not even seem to have anything to do with the sale. But yet, what I found, guys and listeners, is that when I do this, there's always seems to be some kind of really cool payoff in the end. And to that, I think one of the payoffs is, Jason and I doing this webinar today. We've established great rapport, and because of my curiosity, it led me to meet Jason. The next thing I want to say is that I say a lot here, and some of the people that work here at Hook will know what I mean, but windshield mentality. For me, it's not just about learning something. Let me back up. I'm not just trying to sell something. Has never been enough for me personally. I'm not just trying to sell something. My goal is to always learn how to do something really well, but then set out to go crush it, iterate, speed up, slow down, continue to move forward. I try to keep everything in front of me when I'm being very curious, but I try to keep everything in front of me and only look back to learn from my mistakes, but staying curious about what's in front of me. Here, the next point that I want to make is here at Hook, we do a lot with psychological security and training the brain and the long-term and the short-term side of the brain and how things work. One of the cool things about curiosity, and it's actually shown this in some research, is that it aids in building better brain memory and even the ability to learn more. So, if you're curious, those are all great things to consider here. So you've got to be curious about everything. who's the actual person you're meeting, what gets them up, what's their story, what's their style, all those great things. You got to know about it. You got to think about it. Because, think about this. If I'm curious about everything about my prospect, I will end up learning even more about them and their business challenges, which for me, as someone that's trying to find new partners that are in the same boat that we are, that is winning. That is a winning solution. The last thing that I want to say is limitless curiosity. The fun is in the winning. If you're not growing, you're dying. So curiosity is your friend, and it will actually save your sales team or you as a sales individual. So, if you're hiring, you got to look for these habits when you're hiring for sales or curiosity. So this is why I think curiosity is really key to success in sales growth.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think one of the most common pitfalls we see, especially with a lot of MSPs we work with, that either don't have a sales staff or engineer by trade, haven't done a lot of selling, is when you think about approaching a sales conversation with scripts and discovery questions and that kind of route. One, it's incredibly daunting, and it can sometimes just not be as effective as just simply going in and being curious, building a relationship with someone. So in my opinion, based on everything you said, it's like not only does it make your sales easier just to approach, but more effective because you're actually showing that curiosity and empathy. This kind of rolls into your third point, so I guess we'll kind of keep this moving to opportunity 3, but take a personalized approach. Brad, do you want to take this?
So, kind of leading from being Curious George down to a personalized approach and really structuring your approach. I kind of want to just kind of like knock down a couple, one through a couple lists here of things that I do when I'm reaching out to any, new prospect. And this is, thinking through this from the sales side, this is post list building, post curating, getting all the right emails, right contacts and everything. But I wanted to just kind of walk through kind of what I do to let the audience kind of hear some things that I'm doing. Maybe I'm doing some things differently that you aren't doing, or maybe we're doing some things similar, or maybe there's some things that, I'm not thinking about. So I wanted to put this out to the world. So one of the first things that I always do on my personalized approach when I'm reaching out to any new MSP, MSSP about what we do, I'm always going to go view the company website, right? And there's all different kinds of technologies out there that are accessible and for use. But, right now, this is just how I've done it. I've done it enough to where I have metrics and analytics to show that this is working. But the first thing that I always do is go check out the company. Then what I do? I go view the top prospect that I need to meet on LinkedIn. I view that company LinkedIn page, and then I go and view several employees at the company to understand the structure, do they have a customer success manager? How many sales members do they have? Do they have a marketing department? All those things. I try to go learn about the company, who's involved in there. And then, at the end of the day, identify who I need to meet. Once I know who that prospect is, I view their profile on LinkedIn. Once I view their profile, I dig deep into their profile, seeing if they have, any personal websites, anything that I can do to learn. What I'm trying to learn is key moments in their journey. I'm trying to find common bonds that can bring us together. Once I've kind of gotten to that point, then I go view teammate profiles again and make a couple notes on those individuals. Because as we all know, in the sales process, there's typically multiple decision makers, multiple people that have to check off. So you're going to need to make contact with them later. It's great to go ahead and know who those people are. So now you have a prospect profile built. Once you do that, I always go back to the website, check out their partners page, services, blogs, teams, social. I look to see what are they doing? How are they engaged? What are they doing in the community? And then I'll put 3 to 5 things that I can talk about the company doing. If that's, hey, I just heard about this great new reward you got, or just saw you rolling out MSP Overwatch. That's so awesome. Or, hey, I just saw you hired a new sales rep, got a new office. You have this new customer, whatever it may be, come up with 3 to 5 things that you can talk to them about. So, when I get to this point, by this time, I'm like busting at the seams to go meet this person. And my entire goal is just to swap stories. I just want to swap stories with you. initially what I do from there is I'll make a phone call to the prospect. And don't forget, with the LinkedIn algorithms and all that, that person can see and probably will get a notification that you viewed their profile, which is a great thing. So when I call, I either do the dial by name, or typically I'm leaving a voicemail or getting someone from the company on the phone. And this is where I want to come back to the curiosity and being curious, George. This is kind of a moment where you can be curious and begin to build out employee relationships with the company. So if you're talking to the gatekeeper, or that, hey, you talk to the tech team, you always want to be learning their names and even having a couple questions for them, like, hey, you know what? I've tried to call Sam, the CEO, a couple of times. Is there typically a good day that he can typically meet? Or another thing is, hey, who's the best person for me to speak with about IT services at your company? And what I found out is that people will typically say, you need to talk to Jim Carrey, or you need to talk to Bill Murray. And they'll actually tell you those things. So you got to be curious, and you got to ask these questions. So always take down the gatekeeper or anyone that you're talking with, because you're going to use that in your next email or outreach to this prospect. All business owners want to know they are hiring the right people. So validate to them that they have a great person on staff, as long as they really are. So then after those calls, I'm leaving voicemails. I'm then going to send a follow-up email with two sentences. It's going to say, hey, Sam, had a great conversation with Sally at your front desk. You hired a good one. And then I'm going to say, I made this video for you, and I'm going to attach a video link. So I have a link, a service that I use, to where I actually, instead of writing some lengthy email that they're probably not going to read past the first couple of words anyway, actually give them a thumbnail video to click on. And it's a picture of me waving. And typically, in these videos, you can show your personality, and you can really show them who you are. All bets are off. But one thing that I do here to personalize this is, let's just say, for all you Dallas Cowboy fans out there, if you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, what I'm gonna go do is I'm gonna go print out a Cowboys logo from my computer, and then I'm gonna actually flash that on the video in the beginning as I'm waving to them, because that's gonna catch his or her attention, and they're gonna see that, wow, this guy's actually taking another step to actually talk to me, and he really seems like he wants to. Once I send that video, then I'm going to go back to LinkedIn, and I'm going to send a direct message to this prospect. And here's a couple things that I want to highlight that I do and don't do. I do not use I, we, our company name. Complete sentences at the end of the day don't even matter, in my opinion. So here's an example of what I might say in a direct message on LinkedIn. Hey, Jimbo, caught your recent video and was really impressed with the story of transitioning from an old MSP to where you are now. The team you have built is impressive. It sounds like y'all are reaching much farther than Arizona now. Seeing the bad guys double down, and they're getting better. Let's swap stories. And that's really what I leave it to. And what I found is people actually respond to that. And people actually look at that and say, this guy's taking a little bit of extra effort to learn who I am, learn about my business, learn about where I am, and in the story. So, I think at the end of the day, you got to keep it sweet, but you also have to make it very valuable and very eye-catching. From there, it's all about moving, these multiple communication channels while keeping up with the prospects' updates, so that you can keep that conversation moving. Because as we know in sales, sometimes it takes 20, 30, 50, 100 sales activities, to actually get to the end, to the close. So at the end of the day, what I'm looking for in these personalized outreach, my personalized approach, is to get to the conversation, and that's all I want to do, because we got to be able to match what you can do for their business, and we have to show that our product will fit into their business model. But at the end of the day, I'm just trying to get to that conversation. So I know that kind of got winded on a soapbox there, guys, but those are some of the things that I like to do from a personalized approach. And I'm happy to share this out with the audience. If they'd like to see this broken out, I can get that over to Parker, who can send that out.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Jason, what are you kind of seeing on your side of things in terms of curiosity, this personalization? Kind of what's your approach right now on that side of things?
Yeah, it's significant, and Brad's approach worked on me, obviously. But yeah, no, I mean, there's really two rules, right? And when trying to find someone that's going to bring you on as a provider, essentially, if they don't like you or they don't trust you, they're not going to buy from you. It's that simple. And in the MSP world, It's very competitive in a lot of markets. It's very saturated. There's a lot of the same messaging out there when it comes to marketing copy. We're all possibly using the same tools, packaged the same, priced pretty closely to the same. So really trying to generate those leads, you have to have something that sets you apart in those early stages, of the sales cycle. So spending time to get to know your prospect and doing your homework, doing your research. So when you reach out, you can have some type of meaningful conversation goes a long way. I mean, it's really, there's really a burning need to have, to have that relationship and just have more quality over quantity conversations. Because again, if you're in a saturated market, the same targets may hear from multiple of your competitors. So your conversation has to be a little bit different. I think just doing straight up cold calling and just shooting for an appointment as soon as you get them on the phone, free assessment, stuff is hard to pull that stuff off these days. So you really got to connect and deliver value to them, and having conversations, and not really just going, straight for your end game from message one. Maybe that's message, 3 or 4, or maybe 5. So just having that approach, taking the time to do your homework, build a good list, build everything that you can possibly know about that person. So like what Brad said is when you reach out, you can, have some sort of common conversation about what you found when you've done your homework. And that goes a long way, at least in the likability portion, of the sale. And then the trust, comes through later, maybe once you have an opportunity to meet and show what you can do from the technical perspective. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. The approach is dead on.
Awesome. We do have one question that I'll throw in here. I think it's a good time. And Brad, you touched on it a little bit, but what are some of the platforms or tools you're using to have some of those sales conversations? You said, you kind of talked a lot about being on LinkedIn versus email, but do you have anything else to kind of share, kind of your tech stack or where you're living in that prospecting?
Yeah, certainly. The one thing that I actually really love this service, but it's called Vidyard, and that's what I use to send my videos. And it's a very inexpensive service that literally allows me to be in an email and just pop a quick video on my computer. I try to keep my videos around 30 seconds or less, and it's just a really seamless tool that integrates with our CRM and integrates with our email tool. So it's just really cool. You can kind of see if someone views it. It's got all the great analytics that come along with it. But I've found that to be a huge tool for me in my personalized approach. A huge value add for that.
Awesome. One quick thing I'll add right here before we move on is one thing I've been doing lately to, you think about like, all right, I want to craft the perfect message. I want to see what's effective. One of the best ways to see that is to figure out what's effective on you. I don't know about you guys, but I'm marketing lead at a SaaS company. My inbox is full of cold emails, people pitching like marketing technology tools, agencies. And a lot of times it's so easy to just ignore those, but read them, read that thing, read the pitch from someone, see how it makes you feel. If you're like, oh my gosh, this is exactly like what I've been sending people and I ignored this email, so I got to change it up. Because we can spend all day doing sales outreach, but when you realize the huge ocean of other emails in that inbox and how it sizes up to that kind of changes how you're going to approach that. And I think that's one reason why we've been really focusing on LinkedIn and relationship building versus a lot of outreach, because we can be more personal, we can stand out, and we can start with that curiosity and that high level of personalization that's not just like hello first name. So that's been something really interesting lately that I've been kind of doing to just get ideas and examples. We'll move on here. Opportunity 4, seek vendor relationships that can help you grow. Jason, do you want to run with this one?
Yeah. It's significantly important to get the right vendors for your MSP. And then, talking about relationships, your vendor relationships should go well beyond the products that they're basically allowing you to resell to help you grow. Strong vendors are there. They appreciate the relationship, and they're willing to help you outside of just giving you, that widget or that product or that platform to resell. So very similar to what we're doing here. We're delivering sales strategies out to everyone that's listening, and that's just one value add, because we haven't even talked about Hook's platform, but yet we're helping with sales strategies and helping with growth. And that's really what you want to see out of vendors that can help you with business development strategies, how to position certain things, how to package, how to price based on what they're seeing in other markets with other partners. And it just goes a long way to build that relationship, help you grow, and really gain that trust in that vendor. Because at the end of the day, being in the MSP space, we have to trust the vendors from a technology standpoint because of the information that they're storing. Or, it could be everything from client system access through your RMM platforms. It could be all your documentation for clients, including passwords like an IT Boost or an IT Glue. So you have to really have trust in those vendors that, they have the right security posture and they're taking care of your clients the way that you would expect them to. And it's just all part of that relationship. So again, just when you're out vetting out vendors for any type of solution to put into your offering, whether it's, MSP or security or a combination of the two, don't solely make a decision based on margin. Okay, well, I can get a much cheaper per seat price with this vendor than I can with this vendor. But you really kind of got to weigh your options and what else can they do for me? What other value can they bring to the table to help me grow, and really make your decision off that, because maybe paying just a little bit more per seat for a lot of additional value could help you grow even more or even faster, if you're aligned with the right people.
Awesome. Brad, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, that was great, Jason. And I think, one of the things that we look at when we're, looking for partners is we do look for commonalities, right? We look for, guys like Jason Rorie that are rowing the boat out there, and, we see ourselves can jump right in and start rowing with them and helping them along the way. So, the way that we've built Hook Security from day one is when our partners succeed, we succeed. But we don't leave anything up to chance. We don't take assumptions. If we don't put the effort and time into our partners to be successful with our service, then we're failing our partners. So I think, from day one, we've always been on a mission to build a championship program, because at the end of the day, champions fight for others who can't fight for themselves sometimes. And, that's kind of the approach that we've taken with some of our partners. And I think, one of the reasons that we work with Jason is because of our mindset here. We're channel only, and we've aligned completely with our channel partners on this. So I think that's really what has made our relationship successful, and all the other relationships that we have with our partners. But at the end of the day, you got to have a partnership that, like Jason said, goes beyond just the service. It has to go beyond the service. I mean, that's why we help our partners with pre and post sales. We offer them everything that we can, jump on webinars with them, do whatever we need to do to help them promote their business and promote themselves to get out there. So it's a really fun thing to be a part of in the channel. It really is, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's great. All right, we'll round it out with opportunity 5, which is offer services that are contextually relevant. Jason, what do we mean by this?
So yeah, when it comes to your service offering, it has to be relevant. It has to be different in a way. You have to deliver a certain level of trust. Now we're kind of moving post sales, kind of into your technical delivery, and offering those services that are really going to protect the client. Because I mean, at the end of the day, if we're talking MSP world, we're talking security. It just is what it is. You have these clients and their businesses and really the owner's livelihood in your hands. So you really have to make sure that what you're offering, is relevant to the needs and the threats that are out there. I mean, I just saw an article last night on LinkedIn, speaking of LinkedIn, where I think the studies are in, and email phishing has seen a 667% increase since COVID started. So making sure that you take that into consideration when you're building out your program for clients, and ensuring that training is ultimately number one, right? You need to have something in place where you're delivering, email phishing simulations. You're maybe doing on-site training, or maybe now Zoom or webinar type trainings around what clients should be looking for, and really ultimately trying to change your client's culture and mindset around what's happening these days. And then backing that up with, mitigation technologies like your endpoint, like your threat hunting, application whitelisting. The list kind of goes on and on. I know this is not a technical webinar, but having those mitigation strategies in place is equally as important. But really focusing on the training, because what you don't necessarily want to do is rely on that technology to stop something from happening, or stop it from potentially pivoting from one system to the other. What you want to do is try to build a way where the client never finds themselves in that position in the first place. And really the only way to do that now is through training and helping the client understand, and really trying to break that mindset that clients are in, especially if they're small. They still think that, they are too small to get hacked, or hackers don't have, they don't want anything that I have because I'm so small. Well, I mean, that's really the opposite mindset that they should have, because that's really the mindset that the hackers are banking on. Because if you think that way, you're not going to put in the resources to protect yourself adequately from the threats that are out there today. So you become an easy target. And, we read articles about these type of companies every day closing doors or finding themselves in a really bad spot. And, if they would have had a little bit of training, in place in their company, they would hopefully be able to change that culture and stop and think before they click, or stop and verify an email if they're uncertain whether it's legitimate or a phishing scam. So it just goes a long way to help out. And I think that that's what's needed out there. And if that's not necessarily your focus, maybe it's something to consider, is building this stuff in, because really these type of services really need to be in everyone's base offering now.
Yeah, that's really good. And you actually kind of you kind of pretty much answered audience question that came in, which is, has the shift to work from home changed the way you sell and or offer services? So I would imagine there are certain ways you would structure your bundle, or certain services that you were pushing maybe at the beginning of this year that just aren't relevant now with everybody working from home. Is that kind of what you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, it has. I mean, you hear a lot of buzz out in the channel now about perimeter, basically no perimeter existing anymore, because there's so many people now behind that corporate firewall. So you lose a certain level of control, over what the user's doing on their machine, because, it's no one knows what their home network looks like. So you have to find other ways to help mitigate the risks that are out there, and especially the amount of risks that have grown, because hackers know this. They know people are working from home. They know home life can be crazy, and they're paying less attention, and kids are screaming, and just all these different things that could lead to them clicking on something and falling victim to some type of, scam or malware. So yeah, you have to keep all that in mind and transition your offering to something that's going to help secure these machines in that type of environment. So
awesome. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. So we will put it out to the audience real quick. If you have any questions, throw them in the Q&A box real quick. Brad, did you have anything final you wanted to add to that?
Well, I guess what I, just kind of closing remarks is, I think, and first of all, Jason, I've enjoyed doing this with you, and thanks for joining us here. But I think now more than ever, MSPs, MSSPs, they need to focus on what they can control and how they can impact others and their customers. I really think it's a time to be a bulldog. I really do, and that's the Citadel alumni coming out in me. But I really think that it's a time to have a lawnmower mentality. That's something I say. Another thing I say here at Hook, and what I mean by lawnmower mentality is literally just crank it up and go mow it down every day. Persistent effort will lead to success. Being all in all the time, and knowing that the best is yet to come. So that's really what I would like to leave everybody with. Everybody can go out there and get it. I'm happy to connect with anyone after this too, if y'all want to go a little deeper into anything that we discussed. I know Jason, I'll be happy to do that with you guys.
Yeah, and hey, Brad, real quick,
Brad,
if you look at the chat, Michael had a couple questions for you. I think you just, if you could repeat the name of that video platform that you use.
I got you, Michael.
There we go. Cool.
Yeah, Vidyard is the name of that. We found it pretty awesome. Integrates with a lot of our stuff, and yeah, we'll connect with those of you that raise your hand, Michael. We'll send you some of the kind of the outline of our personalized approach, and connect with you guys after this. Well, no further questions. I think we packed a lot of stuff into 47 minutes. Thank you everybody for coming. Thank you, Brad and Jason, for getting on with us. We're gonna let you guys get back to the rest of your day, but thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure.
Thank you guys. Pleasure.
All right. Bye, everybody.